Hello, I'm Jade Turnstil from Share to Buy, and I'm here today hosting the very first Spotlight on Shared Ownership session brought to you by Square Roots. I'm joined by Alex Sloane from Square Roots and Rupi Hunjan from Censeo Financial, and we're going to be talking all things shared ownership. So let's get straight into it. There is lots and lots to cover. Firstly, I'm very aware that buying a property can be quite complex or seem quite complex, and especially when you're buying a shared ownership property, people can seem quite overwhelmed. It'd just be kind of good to know, Alex, what does shared ownership mean?
Shared ownership is an affordable housing product. It's there to help people, one, get onto the ladder, but then also two, help them climb the ladder as well. So instead of buying 100% of the property, you'll buy a share. So the typical share is between 10% and 75%, and that all just comes down to affordability and what you can afford. The share that you own, you have a deposit on, and then also you get a mortgage on the remainder. On the share that you don't own, you then pay a subsidised rent. The usual rent is 2.75% of the full market value, and that just allows you to have a smaller deposit and also a smaller mortgage. So it's just more attainable, and it allows those first-time buyers to really get onto the market.
So you just mentioned renting. It'd be good to know why you would choose shared ownership over renting. Could you provide the viewers with a bit of information there?
Yeah, I think one of the main things really about it is kind of that security. So with shared ownership, you're still buying the property, although you're buying a share. You're living in the property as it is yours. You can decorate it as you wish. If you're renting a property, you may be worried about hanging pictures up on the wall because you may lose your deposit when you come to move out. But you're living in that property as your home, and also it's that security side of things. So there's no end of tenancy. You don't have to worry about once your tenancy agreement comes up, you have to find somewhere else to live. So it just gives you that security. Another big thing as well with shared ownership is that majority of the time these shared ownership homes are new build properties. So you have everything in there is new, brand new. Someone else hasn't used it. The energy efficiency, which is massive at the moment in terms of kind of the environment. All our Square Roots homes, their energy efficiency rating B or above. So it means that your bills are likely to be less in terms of kind of heating and electricity. All the appliances as well are brand new, trying to provide the top range of appliances in the property. So it all kind of just adds up with that as well. And if you can find a lot of our buyers that have been renting it in the local area, and they've come along not thinking that they can afford to buy and think that they have to rent for a lot longer. But they've come along, they've looked at the finances, and they could be renting a one-bedroom flat in the area and paying kind of £1,500-1,600 a month, and they've come along and seen that actually, after reviewing it, the rent on the share that they don't own, the mortgage and the service charge works out about equal, sometimes even less, which is great for them because then it means that they can potentially save money to then buy more shares in the future as well.
I love that, and because I think, especially in this current climate, it's nice to have that security. It's never kind of been more important. And knowing that you are building equity in yourself, you're essentially investing in yourself, which is really lovely to hear. What are the kind of overall benefits of shared ownerships? Or are there any other benefits to the scheme that you think people should know about?
I think it's going back to being able to have that smaller deposit and that the smaller mortgage with the mortgage market where it is at the moment. Interest rates are higher. Instead of getting a mortgage for 90% of the property or 95% of the property, you're getting a mortgage for, say, 20% of the property. So with interest rates being up in 5-6%, although they are higher, your mortgage repayments are less, and it's more, it's kind of bite-sized chunks. Also means as well that you've got a smaller deposit. Deposits are usually 5 to 10%, and where we are with the cost of living crisis, it is just so hard for people to save for that deposit. So it's more attainable to be able to buy shared ownership at the moment, and Help to Buy has now finished. So it is really the only other alternative option for buyers to be able to get their foot onto the ladder or even climb the ladder with selling a property and wanting to upsize.
That's amazing. And you mentioned there about the 5 to 10% deposit. And I think that's so important because it does make it so much more attainable because it's on the share that you're buying, isn't it? So if you buy a 25% share, the 5 to 10% is on that, which works out so much cheaper than these massive open market deposits, which are just huge nowadays. So I think that's a really, really good thing for buyers to know. So it's really interesting to know about the benefits of the shared ownership scheme, and I'd love to know a little bit more about Square Roots Lewisham, where we are today, and just a little bit about how shared ownership can benefit buyers in this development.
Of course. So Square Roots Lewisham is our second development that we've launched under the Square Roots brand. So really exciting about it. So what we have here are 116 shared ownership properties, 1, 2, and 3 bedroom apartments. To give you an idea, kind of on the cost of these. So if we take a 1 bedroom apartment here, we've got ones available at the full market value at 445,000. So your average 25% share of that will be just over 110,000. If you were looking to buy that, you need a minimum income of around about 50,000. So if you break that down to say 2 people living there, so say a couple earning about £25,000 each, the monthly outgoings will be around about 1,400 a month. So if you compare that to renting a property in Lewisham or Greenwich or Deptford nearby, it's really kind of a no-brainer because it allows you to get onto the ladder. Yeah, it really gives you the opportunity to put down your roots and really build a home and create a space that you want.
So £1,400 a month is amazing, right? For like the apartments here are so beautiful, and I mean, I've said myself all morning, I am obsessed with the kitchens. I love them. They're all really good spec. Could you tell us a little bit more about that kind of side of things, the specification in the flats?
With Square Roots, we want to build properties that we as a company we want to live in. We like to say that it's London living without sacrifice. So we always just make sure that the specification is to the highest standard. You've got really nice two-tone kitchens, fully integrated appliances, Bosch appliances, and you've got balconies and terraces to every apartment. And then you've also got an amazing sort of 5th floor communal podium, which has kind of views across London and out towards kind of Canary Wharf and the cities.
It's lovely to have that private outdoor space as well as the communal. It's nice to have a good mixture of both, especially in London, where, you know, it is harder and harder to find those nice open green spaces. It's nice to know that it's kind of on your doorstep. So Alex, you've mentioned the Lewisham development, so Square Roots Lewisham, where we are today. So I think this would be the perfect opportunity to have a quick sneak peek at the Lewisham show home. Let's have a look. I've got in my notes that you launched your Kingston development earlier this year and have won awards.
So we're now multi-award winning. So at Kingston we launched in April this year. It was a 52 apartment scheme and we're fully sold out there now. And we won 2 awards in autumn, the Evening Standard Award and also the First Time Buyers Award. So yeah, it's great, and we want to be able to kind of continue that success with Lewisham and also future schemes.
Amazing. And it's so nice to know that they're kind of being recognised in these beautiful developments, but also the Square Roots brand, which is very strong, and it is all about putting roots down, isn't it? And finding a home to call your own. And I mean, talking of the brand, the company I work for, Share to Buy, hosts the London Home Show each year, twice a year, and the attendees loved the Square Roots branding, didn't they? The goodie bags went down a real treat.
I think that's what we try to do. You'll see with our developments that they're always Square Roots, and then the location they're in. We're not there trying to create a new community. We like to go into an already existing community and really enhance it. And with our brand, we try to do that. We show that we are high quality, and our brand speaks for itself. So that's where you see Square Roots Lewisham, Square Roots Kingston, and also Square Roots Hendon, which is going to be our next scheme launching next year.
Fantastic. So Northwest London as well. We're going to be scattered all around London. It's brilliant. If someone wants to reserve a Square Roots home, whether it's at Lewisham, Hendon Waterside, Kingston, what's the process?
come along and view the property. We love to show our stunning show home here, speak to one of our sales executives. We also strongly encourage buyers to speak to a financial advisor. So we're working with Censeo on this to really it's to understand kind of what the buyer can afford. So when they walking into the door of the show home, they know, right, I can afford up to this amount of money. I can get a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, and it just allows them to really kind of concentrate and focus on kind of the properties available. From there, once you have selected your dream home, it'd be the case of doing a financial assessment with Censeo, and that really then just locks in kind of the finances and then it takes you on to the next steps in terms of kind of the mortgage application.
So Rupi, we've touched on the reservation process with Alex. Could you just give me a little bit of information about the financial assessment process when you're looking to reserve an apartment?
Before you reserve a property, Square Roots want to know whether or not you can afford it and your approval on that property. So you do a financial assessment. Fill that in online, come and talk to someone at Censeo, and we'll do all the mathematical calculations for you to work out exactly what it's going to cost, how much your deposit's going to be, what the mortgage is going to cost, and whether or not you can afford it. Now, one thing to take into account is your debt to income ratio, i.e. it's not allowed to be over 45% of your net income, how much you're paying towards that home, including mortgage, service charge, and rent. So we'll calculate all that for you, and if that's okay and you're good to go and see the property, and if you like the property, reserve it.
So doing your research, be prepared, know your affordability, but also like preparing your paperwork. Because like you say, Alex, when someone comes in and speaks to your sales team, if they know what they can afford, have everything ready, it can massively speed up the process. And I guess off the back of that, the reservation process with Square Roots, how long does that take?
So reservation process. So once you have found a property that you like, you've come in for a viewing, you've had your initial financial check with Censeo, with a financial advisor. We ask you to complete an application form. This just gives us kind of the basic details about yourselves as a purchaser and kind of where you've come from in terms of if you're renting, if you're living with family and friends. But then from there, we'll ask you to do a full financial assessment. We hold that property for you for 5 days. And that is when you speak to Censeo and you fill out kind of their documentation, but then also provide documents. So bank statements, proof of address, proof of ID. If you are having a part of your deposit gifted to you, so gifted deposit letters. If it's from a family, their ID, their proof of address. So there is a lot of documents, but as Rupi says, it's one of the biggest purchases you're probably ever going to make in your life. So it's important that you get that information together early, so you can provide it and you can stick within those timelines, because the last thing you want is that you potentially lose a property that you love and you've fallen for because of the delays in the process. But it is usually quite quick from start to finish in terms of walking and viewing the property to having your mortgage application and having the property fully reserved can take kind of under a week, really.
Under a week, that's amazing. You kind of just expect it to be so much longer, but as well, knowing that you reserve that property for them for 5 days, giving them that little bit of breathing room to get everything sorted with the financial advisors, I think that's definitely going to be a bit of a comfort to people who are going through the process.
Our sales team work with the buyers as well, so they're fully trained to explain what requirements we need. We've got all the collateral as well in the sales suite, so we have a really useful checklist to say, look, this is the stuff that you need to be able to provide and documents you need to be able to provide. So if you can get all that together as soon as possible, it just makes the process so much smoother.
So for people who are just starting out on the process and looking to buy their first home, what do you guys think are the biggest do's and don'ts? Like, do you have any kind of number ones that you think would be good to flag for the viewers?
I think for me, one thing I always say to buyers, and I think Rupi touched on it earlier, but just go out and view as much as possible. Speak to a financial advisor, but view those properties even if you're not too sure about it, because that allows you to see a load of different things and allows you to make that decision. So when you do walk into that perfect property, you know that you've seen what else is on the market. You've seen that one has a smaller balcony, or that one has parking, that one doesn't, and you can just walk in and you know, because you've seen what else is on the market. I think that's the biggest advice I give. someone when they do first start looking. Obviously, there are other do's and especially don'ts, I think, financially as well when you're going through that. This happens very rarely, but when you are going through the mortgage application process, or even when you've been you've got your agreement in principle, still try and make sure that your financial situation doesn't change. So don't think just because you've reserved the property and you've got your mortgage offer that you can now then go take out a car loan or get a credit card. It's being kind of financially savvy with it, and just making sure that you're putting yourself in the best possible position to be able to get that mortgage.
It's just being sensible, isn't it? And someone's going to be going through this with a fine comb. And I mean, when I bought a couple of years ago, I mean, I even work in housing, but I kind of didn't realise how much the financial advising that would be going through and how many statements and stuff they'd need. So it's just being prepared, being sensible. But one of the biggest benefits of shared ownership is that smaller deposit. And I actually think it lends itself quite nicely to, you mentioned about not going on holidays, but actually it means that people, and especially first-time buyers, don't have to change their lifestyle that drastically. We always hear this, you know, if you weren't eating so many avocados and getting, you know, fancy coffees, but you can still do that. But what should people expect as the next step after they've reserved the property?
So the next step after reserve the property is then leading on to the conveyancing process. So at Square Roots, we have a panel of solicitors that we can recommend for buyers to use. That we've worked with them over the years, so we understand how they work. We make sure that their rates are competitive as well, which is always good when you're obviously looking to save money for your deposit. But it's a conveyancing process where usually it will take about 28 days from the point of reservation to the point of exchange of contracts, and throughout that process, your conveyancer works for you to then draft a report for you to read, then ask for you to sign a contract, send over your deposit, which is less the reservation fee, and then you're at the point of exchange of contracts, and that's when you legally are buying that property, and that property is yours. And then after that, it is kind of the completion day, and the most exciting point when you move into the property as well.
It's really good that you have kind of solicitors and conveyancers that you can recommend, because I don't think people realise how important that step is. Like, you're in contact with your solicitor all the time, much like the kind of brokering side of things. You want to be with experienced firms, and it's really good if you can recommend people, because otherwise it's hard to know where to start. But they're such a key part of the process. So I think it's brilliant that you have that available to your buyers.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's one of those, to have that experience, to have someone that you can trust. We want to make sure that the process for buying a home through Square Roots is as seamless as possible.
So this has been really informative, and I just think shared ownership is a fantastic product, and it really kind of gives an alternative for these eligible buyers in the capital and beyond who are looking to buy their first home. And it really sounds like Square Roots are dedicated to making homes where people want to live, where they can put down roots, and that they can afford in areas that they already love. So firstly, I just want to say thank you so much to Alex and Rupi for joining us today. This has been really, really informative. And then obviously, thank you to everyone who has joined us today. It's been a really insightful session. If you'd like to find out more about Square Roots, you can visit squareroots.co.uk, and then you can also subscribe to their YouTube channel. But that's everything for now, so thank you so much.